Episode 267. In this confrontation, Ye Weiyang and his 4 companions were essentially just struggling. They were all considered top-tier players among the community. But against Lord Grimm's squad, they were utterly outmatched. The moment those 4 players clashed with them, they realized their decision was far too rash. What a terrible mistake. What a pity it was all too late. The dungeon entrance was right there. If they could just dash inside, they'd be safe from pursuit. But once Lord Grimm and his 4 companions had them locked down one on one, there was no escape. In the blink of an eye, they were all knocked flat, one after another. As the first to be sent flying, Ye Weiyang, he decisively took first place. Nightless was, of course, furious enough to spit blood. He'd spotted Lord Grimm at the dungeon entrance, just one of 5 at the time. He'd called it out, and as everyone swiveled their cameras, Lord Grimm had already flashed right in front of them. Then he sent Ye Weiyang skyward. As he flew through the air, separated from the crowd, even the shameless Ye Weiyang felt a chill run down his spine. Lord Grimm's counterattack was decisively ruthless. And the guy even had the nerve to greet me with a smile. Does he really feel no pressure in this situation? Having respawned in Kangji City, Ye Weixiang sent a message to Ye Duhanten, relaying the grim news. On the receiving end, Ye Duhanten was utterly dismayed. He thought to himself, talk about rotten luck. Just rotten. Why is it that tyrannical ambition always gets the short end of the stick? They never caught a single break, only a relentless string of bad luck. Every guild must have elite teams still grinding. So why was it their squad that got knocked over by Lord Grimm? What kind of rotten luck is that? Upon receiving the news, Night Crossing Cold Pool immediately notified the other elite teams still leveling up. This included the elite squad from the Heavenly Domain, personally led by their guild's top boss, Jiang Yu. Then, with no small amount of malice, he kept this news from the other guilds. He'd be more than happy to see them suffer the same fate. A total wipe at the hands of Lord Grimm's crew. The forces organized by the 7 great guilds to hunt down Lord Grimm had finally arrived outside One Line Canyon. With this kill report, Cold Night over River Crossing was now completely certain of Lord Grimm's whereabouts. However, Cold Night River saw no need to check that particular dungeon entrance. He was convinced Lord Grimm and his crew weren't foolish enough to stay holed up in that dungeon, waiting to be hunted, now that they knew their location was exposed.
Stick to the original plan. First, send people to watch the 50 dungeon entrances. Keep an eye out and confirm their location.
Then we'll set up an ambush. Zhan Yehui said.
By now, they should have finished their first run and be on their second. We need to hurry. When they come out for the second time, we must confirm their location. Then we set up the ambush. We'll ambush them on the 3rd round.
Gu Yin said. The 3 guild leaders certainly didn't want to be the only ones putting in the hard work, while the other 4 guilds remained a chaotic mess. During this time, they managed to track down the decision makers from those other 4 guilds. Now, standing together, the 7 guilds agreed to split the numbers evenly. They quickly dispatched 50 players, sending them to the entrances of 50 different dungeons.
Well, if we just keep guarding this spot, we're bound to catch them eventually. Zuwan, language only has this one entrance.
One of them said.
What if they never come out?
Another person retorted with utter disdain. The first guy was speechless. This was the leveling zone for players between levels 30 and 33. Lord Grimm and his crew, with their skill and current levels, could easily stay here indefinitely, grinding dungeons and mobs without ever needing to move on. But they couldn't just stand around like idiots at the entrance forever. Lord Grimm and the others trained up to level 33. Then we'll leave. We must confirm their location.
Maybe we should send 50 more men. If it's just one person, what if they miss something?
At that moment, Gu Yin suddenly said.
That makes sense.
Someone in the guild agreed, and another 50 players were swiftly dispatched. Yi Xiu had just finished off Nightfall. Outside the dungeon, the 5 players stood in utter silence. Even the usual text bubbles for party invites had vanished for a moment. PK is common in the game, but a kill as clean and decisive as the one they just pulled off had left everyone stunned. These onlookers had no idea what Lord Grimm and his 4 companions were after, but as that team passed by them again, every single person felt a shiver of fear run down their spine anymore, especially when someone from that team, as if not yet satisfied, asked that very question. With a whoosh, the area around the 5 of them cleared out instantly. That was just too much. The dungeon entrance was packed, and every player not in a party was either short on numbers or flying solo, too weak to dare pick a fight.
Nothing yet. Let's move.
Hey, where are we going? Baozi asked, because he noticed Ye Xiu's Lord Grimm wasn't heading toward the dungeon entrance.
If we run the dungeon here, we'll just be waiting to get ambushed.
Baozi scratched his head, not fully understanding, but giving an "oh" anyway as he followed along. Led by Lord Grimm, the group navigated through the desolate stretches of one-line canyon, eventually arriving at a dungeon entrance. Chan?
Any targets to kill?
Ye Xiu couldn't see Tang Ru in person right now, but he could picture her greedy gaze. She was probably hoping every player at the dungeon entrance was an enemy, all ripe for slaughter. That would be thrilling, a real challenge. Ye Xiu said with a laugh.
Soon enough.
Then, Lord Grimm walked straight past the entrance.
Aren't we going in?
The 4 of them, puzzled, hurried to follow.
It's time to leave the instance.
Time to leave the dungeon.
As their characters followed Lord Grimm, the group asked their questions from behind.
Right. If we started the dungeon runs at midnight, we should have finished all 3 by now. It's time to head out. But what about us? We'll see them off.
At this point, both Su Mucheng and Qu Yao Yifan had grasped Ye Xiu's intention, though they were both pro players who had left the online game world years ago. But every pro player first had to encounter the glory online game, fall in love with it, before they could ever enter the pro scene. So they were both well versed in the many intricacies of the online game. As for Baozi, while he had gaming experience, he was a bit naive and clearly wouldn't think that far ahead. He was still puzzling over it.
Who are we sending?
Huh. For someone who wasn't very polite to us.
Then we'll just have to deliver it. Baozi was a bit indignant. Tang Ru immediately understood. Ye Xiu had already analyzed this situation before. Even though the enemy threw everyone they had into hunting them down, they would always keep an elite team behind to keep leveling. So who Ye Xiu is targeting becomes pretty obvious, right?
But do you know who you should be targeting? Smucheng asked.
I've asked around.
You asked around.
That's right. I've got plenty of guild leaders on my friends list.